Tonight, I am announcing that Canada will respond to the US trade action. The government has walked away from trade talks with Canada. Canada's recent decision to cut off US natural gas imports has sent shockwaves through global markets, leaving investors, policymakers, and industry leaders scrambling to reassess their energy strategies. This move, following newly elected US President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff policies, marks a dramatic shift in North American energy dynamics. The unexpected turn of events has strained diplomatic ties between the two countries and raised critical questions about energy security, economic stability, and the broader geopolitical landscape. The decision to halt US gas imports was not taken lightly. For decades, Canada has been a reliable trade partner, supplying and receiving energy resources through an extensive pipeline network across the continent. This interdependence has been a cornerstone of North American energy policy, fostering economic growth and mutual benefits. However, the Trump administration's newly imposed tariffs, aimed at protecting American industries and reducing the trade deficit, forced Canada into a defensive stance, faced with rising costs and what was perceived as an unfair economic assault. Canadian officials had little choice but to sever a key aspect of their energy relationship with the US. The implications of this decision are vast and immediate. For the US, the sudden loss of Canadian natural gas supplies introduces uncertainty into an already complex energy market. While the US has abundant natural gas reserves, the necessary infrastructure to compensate for the loss of Canadian imports is not yet fully developed. Many states, particularly in the northern and northeastern regions, have historically relied on Canadian natural gas for winter heating, and now energy providers must secure alternative sources, potentially driving up costs for American consumers. On the Canadian side, the decision reflects a broader strategy of economic resilience and diversification. Canada has long explored expanding its energy partnerships beyond the US, seeking to increase exports to Europe and Asia. With advancements in liquefied natural gas, LNG, technology, and ongoing port infrastructure investments, Canada is positioning itself as a major global energy exporter. Cutting off US gas imports could accelerate these efforts, pushing Canada to finalize agreements with European allies eager to reduce their dependence on Russian energy. The move has also increased tensions in Canada-US relations. The energy sector has historically been a stabilizing force in bilateral trade, often counterbalancing political discord. By cutting off gas imports, Canada has sent a clear message that it will not be bullied into unfavorable trade agreements. The decision underscores growing frustration within Canada over Trump's protectionist trade policies, which have targeted key industries such as steel, aluminum, and automotive manufacturing. While past trade disputes have been managed through negotiations and compromise, this latest escalation signals a potential breakdown in the cooperative framework that has defined North American economic ties for decades. Global energy markets have reacted with shock and speculation. The disruption of a major energy trade route has injected volatility into oil and gas prices, with investors assessing the long-term impact. Countries relying on North American energy exports, including Mexico and several European nations, are closely monitoring the situation, wary of potential supply chain disruptions. Meanwhile, geopolitical players such as Russia and the Middle East are weighing their own strategic responses, recognizing that shifts in North American energy flows could create new opportunities and challenges on the global stage. The domestic political fallout in both Canada and the US is equally significant. In Canada, the decision has sparked a heated debate over energy policy and national sovereignty. Supporters argue that this bold move was necessary to protect Canadian industries from unfair US trade practices and reinforce the country's independence in global energy markets. Critics, however, warn that severing ties abruptly could lead to unintended economic consequences, including job losses in industries dependent on cross-border energy trade. In the US, the energy industry has been thrown into turmoil, with stakeholders demanding clarity from the Trump administration on how it plans to address the sudden disruption. The president's tariffs, intended to bolster American economic interests, have inadvertently triggered a crisis in a vital industry, threatening economic stability. The loss of Canadian gas imports could drive up prices, increase reliance on domestic fracking, and strain energy infrastructure, unprepared for such a shift. Beyond economic consequences, Canada's move signals a challenge to traditional North American trade power dynamics, marking a new era of assertiveness in its foreign policy. This decision aligns with a global push for energy diversification, prompting discussions on energy security and supply chain resilience, particularly in Europe. Analysts debate whether this standoff is temporary or signals a permanent realignment. With Canada strengthening ties with European and Asian markets, while the US focuses on domestic production, market volatility is expected as investors and policymakers navigate these shifts. The future of cross-border energy projects is also in question, potentially impacting North American pipeline investments and US energy policies. American consumers face rising energy prices, while industries reliant on stable costs could experience disruptions. Though the Trump administration argues tariffs protect American jobs, the unintended fallout may extend beyond initial objectives. For Canada, the decision to cut US gas imports is a high-risk, high-reward gamble, potentially leading to energy independence or economic setbacks if global market expansion falls short. This crisis underscores the interconnectedness of modern economies, showing how political decisions can have far-reaching consequences. The key question remains whether diplomacy will resolve this standoff, or if it signals a deeper, more lasting shift in trade relations. The permanent shift in North American energy dynamics, regardless of the final outcome, will have lasting implications. This decision has exposed vulnerabilities in North American energy infrastructure, highlighted the risks of trade protectionism, and underscored the growing importance of energy diversification. Whether this marks a new era in Canada-US relations or a temporary disruption in an otherwise stable trade partnership remains uncertain. However, one thing is clear: this event has fundamentally altered the landscape of North American energy trade, setting the stage for uncertainty, strategic recalibration, and a potential redefinition of global energy alliances. Canada's decision to cut off US gas imports has triggered a profound transformation in North American energy relations, far beyond a simple trade dispute. This drastic move, in response to newly elected US President Donald Trump's tariff announcement, has forced energy executives, policymakers, and international allies to rethink their strategies amid a rapidly shifting economic landscape. The disruption of a long-standing energy relationship suggests far-reaching and long-lasting consequences. The immediate impact is the emergence of supply vulnerabilities across multiple sectors in the US. While the country has significant natural gas reserves, its infrastructure cannot immediately compensate for the loss of Canadian imports. The northeastern states heavily reliant on Canadian gas for heating during winter, must urgently secure alternative supplies. The sudden loss of a major energy source could lead to rising gas prices, increased reliance on less efficient domestics, production, and potential shortages during peak demand seasons. For American energy companies, this presents a logistical crisis, as many firms had structured supply chains around the predictable, low-cost flow of Canadian gas. Now, they must quickly renegotiate supply agreements, potentially resorting to expensive spot markets or emergency LNG imports. The energy sector thrives on stability, and Canada's abrupt decision has disrupted gas distributors, industrial users, and power generation facilities. The impact on consumers could be significant, with gas price volatility translating into higher utility bills for millions of American households, disproportionately affecting low-income families. Industries reliant on natural gas, such as manufacturing and agriculture, may also face increased costs, threatening production efficiency and competitiveness. At the policy level, Canada's move signals a major geopolitical shift, ending an era of mutual reliance in energy trade. By severing this connection, Canada has demonstrated its unwillingness to remain a subordinate trade partner to the US, instead seeking new alliances in the global energy market. This decision may inspire other nations to pursue energy independence, particularly those wary of reliance on American energy exports. Canada's strategy is multifaceted, responding not only to Trump's tariffs, but also aligning with its broader ambition to become a dominant player in the global natural gas market. Heavy investments in LNG export infrastructure, particularly along its western coastline, position Canada to supply energy-hungry Asian markets. The cut in US gas imports could accelerate this shift, strengthening relationships with Japan, South Korea, and India. Additionally, Canada may push to deepen ties with Europe, which seeks alternatives to Russian energy dependence. With ongoing geopolitical tensions shaping global energy markets, Canada's increasing role in European energy supply could have profound implications.